Good evening, brave souls and future insomniacs. Welcome to Whispers from the Dark.
Whispers from the Dark.
I'm your host, the Merle, collector of nightmares and professional sleep disruptor. Tonight's tale is called The Long Walk Home. It comes with a warning. Don't take shortcuts through forests after dark. Actually, don't take shortcuts anywhere. In fact, maybe just stay home. Forever.
The two boys weren't supposed to be in these woods. Everyone in town warned children to stay clear of the forest, especially as daylight waned. But children rarely heed such warnings. They were deep into the forest when the whispering started. Whispering voices carried on a wind that shouldn't have existed in the still summer air. Children's voices. The whispers formed words, almost intelligible, almost understandable. Between the trees, pale figures darted, glimpses of limbs too thin, faces too white, eyes like empty holes watching from behind trunks and underbrush, bloodless lips stretched into unnatural smiles. The taller boy ran first, his survival instinct overwhelming friendship. He heard his friend calling after him, voice receding as the distance between them grew. Still, he ran faster, branches whipping his face, roots catching at his feet. When he burst out of the forest, lungs burning and legs weak, he collapsed onto the gravel road. Only then did he realize his friend wasn't behind him. He waited, trying to quiet his breathing to listen for approaching footsteps. Minutes stretched into forever. The road remained empty, the forest silent. And from that day on, his dreams were haunted by those empty eyes and silently laughing mouths. In his nightmares, one of those pale faces always belonged to the friend he left behind. Everyone in Millhaven knew to stay off Stillwater Road after dark. Jake had spent 20 years away from his hometown, running from memories he couldn't outrun. Now, at 43, he'd returned for his mother's funeral, with 3 days to clear her house before leaving forever. But Jake stayed too long at Donovan's bar, listening to old high school teammates recount glory days he barely remembered, drinking whiskey that burned less than the memories. "Don't take Stillwater home," Cal Winters had warned, clapping Jake's shoulder at the bar. His face had gone serious, the laughter from their reminiscing suddenly vanished. They never did find all the pieces of Jim Murray's boy after he broke down out there last spring. Jake had nodded, humouring the warning. Small towns and their superstitions. He'd forgotten how fear could spread here. But 5 whiskeys deep and eager to be done with the day, Jake turned onto Stillwater Road anyway. It was 15 minutes faster than the highway route. What were small-town ghost stories to a man who'd seen his marriage die slowly over 7 years? What were shadows in trees to someone who'd watched his mother waste away, calling him by his father's name in her final days? The road narrowed as he drove, trees pressing closer on either side until their branches formed a canopy overhead, blocking out stars and moon alike. His headlights caught the glint of eyes watching from the underbrush. Raccoons or deer, he told himself, ignoring the prickling sensation at the back of his neck. That's when he first noticed the figure. It appeared at the edge of his headlights, a silhouette of a child standing motionless on the shoulder. Jake's foot jerked toward the brake, heart hammering. He slowed, rolling down his window. "Hey, kid," he called, "you shouldn't be out here." The boy didn't turn, didn't acknowledge him at all. As Jake coasted closer, the child took a single step into the woods and vanished into the darkness between the trees. The air that had rushed in felt wrong somehow, too cold and carrying a smell like wet leaves and something underneath, something rotten. He pressed the gas harder than necessary, the rental car's engine whining in protest. The forest seemed to close in around him, branches scraping against the roof and sides like fingernails. Suddenly, the boy appeared directly in Jake's path. Jake swerved hard, the car fishtailing on the damp asphalt. He regained control inches from the tree line and screeched to a halt, breathing hard. Jake recognized the boy. It was Tommy Denton, who'd gone missing when they were both 8. They'd found only one of Tommy's shoes a week later. He'd never told anyone they'd been together that day. Then his car died. Absolute blackness engulfed him. No, 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 Jake whispered, fumbling for his phone. No signal, and the battery showed just 2% despite being fully charged at the bar. The silence outside was absolute. No crickets, no night birds, not even the rustle of leaves in the wind. Just a dead, waiting silence that pressed against the windows like a physical force. He had 2 choices: stay in the car until morning, or walk the remaining mile to his mother's house. Jake grabbed his jacket, wrapped it tightly around himself, and stepped out of the car. The cold hit him immediately, far too intense for an early September night. His breath clouded before him as he turned on his phone's flashlight, the weak beam barely penetrating the darkness. 1 mile, he said, needing to hear a human voice, even his own. 20 minutes, tops. He started walking, keeping to the centre of the road. The forest crowded close on either side, a solid wall of black. His footsteps echoed strangely, sometimes seeming to continue a half second after he stopped moving. After 5 minutes of walking, Jake realised the mile markers had stopped appearing. When he looked back, he could no longer see his car. The phone's light dimmed, then died completely as the battery gave out. That's when the whispering started. At first, it sounded like wind through pine needles, a gentle shushing from all around him. But gradually, he began to distinguish words, fragments of sentences, voices that overlapped and echoed. The last voice was Tommy's, exactly as Jake remembered it from 35 years ago. Jake screams, his voice cracking. "You're not real." The forest fell suddenly unnaturally silent, as if every creature, every leaf, every molecule of air had frozen in anticipation. He could see them now, shapes in the darkness, small figures moving among the trees, children, a dozen or more, their outlines faintly luminous against the black forest. Tommy stood at their centre, still in his overalls, still 8 years old, still looking at Jake with those empty eyes.
"I've been waiting for you,"
Tommy said. Only his mouth didn't move. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, from the trees and the earth and the darkness itself. Jake backed away, stumbling on the uneven road. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "God, Tommy, I'm so sorry I left you." Tommy's face split in a smile too wide, too full of teeth that gleamed wetly. His features began to twist, jaw unhinged, the smile expanding beyond human limits. Jake turned and ran blindly, hearing small feet behind him, high excited laughter. He ran until his lungs burned, until his legs threatened to give out, but the sounds behind him only grew closer. When hands finally grabbed at his jacket, his arms, his legs, they were small but impossibly strong. Cold, so cold they burned against his skin. Jake fell, and the children swarmed over him like ants, their weight crushing the air from his lungs. Tommy's face appeared above him, those too many teeth now inches from Jake's nose.
"I tried to warn you, Jake. Now he won't let you go, ever!"
Tommy whispered, his breath like winter air. The last thing Jake saw before the children pulled him into the woods was a tall figure standing in the centre of the road, arm raised in greeting. 3 days later, they found Jake's rental car abandoned. The search party found nothing but a single shoe on the road. Cal Winters recognised it from the bar. He pocketed it before the police arrived, then drove to the empty Thorn house. Inside, he noticed fresh children's footprints in the dust leading nowhere, and written on the dirty kitchen window, a message in a child's handwriting. "Stay off Stillwater Road." Cal burned the shoe that night. Sometimes he thought it was better to let the missing stay missing.
And that, dear listeners, is why I always keep a flashlight in my car, and why I never, ever pick up hitchhikers with glowing eyes. But before you try to sleep tonight, I would like to know, what nightmare keeps you awake at night? The darkness is always hungry for fresh stories, and so am I. Send your most terrifying tales to me, and I might tell them. Until next time, and keep the lights on. You never know what might be waiting in the dark.